Good day to everyone who is watching this video. So we will tackle here the introduction to aviation with principles of flight. So first things first is the history. So we have here Leonardo da Vinci. We all know that Leonardo da Vinci is one of the famous painter, philosopher, mathematician, and more. And isa sa mga famous invention ni Leonardo sa aviation ay yung kanyang flying machine which is yung ornithopter. Ideally, it displays his powers of observation and imagination as well as his enthusiasm for the potential of flight. Second is Robert Hooke. Hooke had a naive belief that human flight would be possible soon, and that he would be one of the first to fly. So in 1655, he concluded that the human body does not possess the strength to power artificial wings. Third is Joseph and Etienne Montgolfier. They are French brothers who invented the hot air balloon and flew the first untethered flights. In June 4, 1783, the Montgolfier gave the first public display of their discovery in Annonay's marketplace. For the fourth one, we have here Professor Jacques Charles, a mathematician and physicist whose pioneering work with gases and hydrogen balloon flights made him famous. After the Montgolfier launched the first hot air balloon, only 10 days later, Charles became the first person to rise in a hydrogen balloon. For the fifth one, we have here Sir George Cayley. He believed that the studies of kites unlocked the secrets of wing flights. He is also called the father of aerial navigation. The light tension wheel, the expansion air or hot air engine, and the Caterpillar tractor were also created by Sir George Cayley. Another one is William Samuel Henson. He designed a huge monoplane that was propelled by a steam engine inside the fuselage. So in 1843, he published his design for an advanced fixed-wing monoplane configuration known as the aerial steam carriage. Henson, together with Stringfellow, designed the carriage para mag-transport ito ng 10 to 12 passengers, pero since masyado itong mabigat para lumipad gamit ang steam engine, hindi ito naging successful. And over the next few years, Henson grew discouraged by their lack of success and gave up on his quest for flight. Dahil sa design ng kanilang aerial steam carriage, hindi ito tuluyang nabuo or nagawa because the wing design wasn't sufficient to produce the lifting force required and the investors were unable to secure funding for their design. Another is Otto Lilienthal. In 1867, he created his first wood glider with his brother. Despite the failure of his model, he continued to develop winged vehicles and research the anatomy of bird wings and the aerodynamics of bird flight. So in 1891, Lilienthal resumed making glider models. Willow rods and cotton cloth were used in the Derwitzer glider type he showed that year. He was able to glide 80 feet with his craft, which required him to alter his body weight to control. In 1894, Lilienthal created his most successful design, the standard soaring apparatus. It took more than 2,000 glider flights by the time of his death in 1896 and had built 18 models. So, namatay si Otto Lilienthal sa gliding accident noong August 9, 1896, and it was also reported that his last words were, "Sacrifice must be made." And lastly is Wilbert and Orville Wright. The Wright brothers, who were always working on a new mechanical objects and keeping up with scientific study, kept a close eye on German aviator Otto Lilienthal's studies. Following Lilienthal's death in a glider crash, the brothers decided to begin their own flight experiments. They both traveled to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, famed for having high winds in order to create their own successful design. So, December 17, 1903, they discovered that they had the golden formula when they added a movable rudder. They also flew the first free-controlled flight for a power-driven, heavier-than-air plane. Wilbur flew their plane for 59 seconds, covering an incredible distance of 852 feet. And as we can see here at the screen, we can see here the progression of the designs made by the Wright brothers before they came up with the Wright Flyer. So next one is the aircraft structure. And we have here the lift and basic aerodynamics. So there are four forces acting upon an aircraft. These forces make an object move up and down and faster or slower. For the first one, we have here the lift. Lift is generated by the motion of the airplane through the air and is an aerodynamic force. The most important force to a pilot is lift. It is similar to the pulley system, and it is also directed perpendicular to the flight direction. For the second one, we have here the drag. Drag is a force acting opposite to the relative motion of any object moving with respect to a surrounding fluid. Drag is the aerodynamic force that opposes the motion of the airplane through the air. Next, for the third one, we have here the weight. Weight is the force caused by the gravity. Weight opposes the force of lift in flight. Gravity Gravity is an invisible force that pulls objects towards each other. And for the last one, we have here the thrust. Thrust is a force that moves an aircraft in the direction of the motion. Thrust works opposite of drag. It is created with a propeller, jet engine, or rocket.
For the next one, an aircraft moves in three dimensions. First is rolling. Rotation around the front to back axis is called roll. The ailerons control roll. On the outer rear edge of each wing, the two ailerons move in opposite directions up and down, decreasing lift on one wing while increasing it on the other. This causes the airplane to roll to the left or right. To turn the airplane, the pilot uses the ailerons to tilt the wings in the desired direction. Rotation around the vertical axis is called yaw. The rudder controls yaw. On the vertical tail fin, the rudder swivels from side to side, pushing the tail in a left or right direction. A pilot usually uses the rudder along with the ailerons to turn the airplane. Rotation around the side-to-side axis is called pitch. The elevator controls pitch. On the horizontal tail surface, the elevator tilts up or down, decreasing or increasing lift on the tail. This tilts the nose of the airplane up and down. So we have here the major components of an aircraft. And I have here a small plane for us to identify the different components of an aircraft. For the first one, we have here the fuselage. This is the long hollow tube that holds passengers and cargo. It is also known as the body of the airplane. For the second one, we have here the wings. Wings are also known as foils. The wings generate the lifting force needed for flight, and the wings are in the middle and back of an aircraft. For the third one, we have here the empennage. The tail end of the aircraft is the empennage, which helps with the stability using assistance from the rudder and elevator. For the fourth one, we have here the power plant. It is the engine and propeller make up the power plant. And for the last one is the landing gear. A plane can't function without landing gear. Shock absorbers and wheels are part of the landing gear.